Now, Russia, they're retaliating against the United States because the United States has put sanctions on them. Right now, if you read what's going on in Russia, the economy is doing badly. It's hurting significantly. When the price of oil, a barrel, was over $100 a barrel, they were happy. But it's come down so much. Their economy, like I said, is based on the price of oil. They're hurting desperately. They are like a bear against the wall. And a bear against the wall is very dangerous. Desperate measures can happen. Russia, we put those sanctions on them, but like I said earlier, because they invaded Ukraine, a sovereign nation. They took Crimea, and we didn't do anything about it. And they're threatening to do more things. So what did we do? We put sanctions on them. Saudi Arabia, along with the United States, keep on producing oil. And so there's a lot of supply of oil. And so it makes the price go down, and it hurts Russia more. So what has Russia done to retaliate against us? They're doing something that can cause World War III. They are now selling their oil to China, not using dollars, but selling it using Chinese currency, the yuan. You have to understand, right now our economy is very, very good. Why? Because it's based on the dollar being the world reserve currency. It's based on the dollar, what's called the petrodollar. That means in 1971, while we were on the gold standard, every dollar that we printed was backed up by gold. 1971, we got away from that, but we made a deal with the Arabs. And we said, we'll protect your oil fields in one condition. Okay, what's that? Whoever buys your oil, they have to be able to convert their currency into dollars. So if it is the Middle East, if it's Russia, if it's Europe, if it's whomever, everybody has to sell their oil in dollars. And that was the agreement since 1971. And to this date, that's the way it is. Until Russia now, and it's now not just Russia, but now it's some other countries are starting to say, that's it, America. We're not going to do this anymore. We are now going to get away from the dollar and start using other currencies. Now, you can say, well, who cares about that? Our whole economy, when it says, in God we trust on that bill, it's really just a fiat currency. It's not backed by anything. Really, what it is if people around the world have confidence in it, then it's worth something. But as soon as people start saying, this thing isn't worth the paper it's printed on, and they start selling it, it's over. And Russia is retaliating by saying, we're not going to use dollars anymore. We're going to use other currency, as well as other countries right now. China is right now, in the last 2 weeks, starting to devalue their currency. Have you guys seen what's happened to the stock market in the last week, 2 weeks? The volatility? I think Monday, the stock market in the first hour dropped 1,100 points, most it ever has. It came up, but we are seeing tremendous volatility in the stock market. The currencies of the world, look at the peso. What's the peso trading at right now? Many currencies of third world countries are suffering right now because of what we're talking about. And they're starting to lose value. We're starting to see the beginnings of what I'm talking about here. See, the Bible speaks about, in Revelation 6:6, you have to turn to it, it speaks about how there's going to come a world economic collapse. The Bible calls it hyperinflation, or the Bible doesn't call it hyperinflation, but it's hyperinflation. What it is the Bible says it's a day's wages for a loaf of bread. The Bible says there's going to come a time where even the smallest of things you buy, a loaf of bread, it's going to take you all day long to work for just that loaf of bread. Not for your rent, not for your utilities, not for your car payment, but just for that loaf of bread. In other words, everything's going to cost a lot, like it has happened to many countries. If you read about right now and Google what's going on in Venezuela, inflation has gone up significantly. Tanzania, many countries that's happened to. And the Bible says you will see that happen throughout the whole world. What can cause that? Real simple. All of the currencies of the world are pegged to the US dollar. So if the US dollar gets devalued, all the currencies of the world get affected. And then the Bible says in the future there's going to be no more currencies. It's all going to be one world, one economy, and the Antichrist is going to have his currency, and it's going to be no more control, no more commerce of currencies, but it's going to be all, and we can get that another time, but it's going to be all non-currency. And right now we are at the precipice of that happening. Iran, as part of this deal, is going to be getting $150 billion because they made this deal. Now, what does that mean? Well, based on their GDP of about $300 billion, that would be tantamount or equivalent to the United States. Our GDP is about $16 trillion. That would be like somebody giving us $8 trillion. Now, just so you'll know, from the beginning of our country till about 2006, that's about 230 years. It took us 230 years to build up $8 trillion of debt. And we're going to be giving that amount of money, comparatively speaking, to Iran. Now, you would hope they're going to be building universities, hospitals, teaching women how to drive. Hey, your women, you know how terribly they're treated in Muslim nations? You're going to use that money for good things. But we know that's not the case. They're already the #1 state sponsor of terrorists when they're broke. What are they going to do when they have the money? And we just finished doing that. One of the things that they want to buy is the S-300. The S-300 is Russia's most sophisticated anti-aircraft ballistic missile system. In other words, if somebody wants to fly over Iran with the S-300, they can shoot down those F-17s or whatever bombers that they have. Israel, they already had said, this is a deal breaker for us. We can't allow that to happen. Before they get the S-300, we'll have to take it out. And now we're giving Iran the money so they can buy it from Russia. The moderate Muslim nations are saying, Obama, what are you doing? America, what are you doing? The Muslim nations are right now mad at the United States and partnering with Israel, with the Jews. They're saying, this is crazy. Hey, Israel, if you want to be able to team up with us to bomb Iran, we'll help you. If you want to be able to fly over Saudi Arabia, we'll help you. Now listen, anytime you have the Arabs and the Jews in partnership, take note. That doesn't happen. That's unprecedented. Why is that happening? What is going on? Because these Muslim nations, the Sunnis, know these people, they're crazy. Imagine the 19 terrorists that did 9/11, that got on planes and went into the World Trade Center. What if these guys had nukes? Or imagine ISIS, the Islamic State, with all of the mayhem that they are doing throughout the world. What if they had nukes? Well, that's Iran, Islamic State of Iran. And now we're giving these guys the ability to have nukes, and we're giving them the equivalent of $8 trillion. And here you have little old Israel surrounded by all those Muslim nations. The rest of the Muslim nations are saying, we need to buy nukes. If Iran has them, we're going to say, Pakistan, we want to buy your nukes. And already, just this past week, Egypt, they went to Russia, as well as some other Muslim nations, and said, we need to look into buying a nuclear reactor. Oh, for peaceful purposes. Yeah, right. Because they see Iran, and they're saying, we have to be able to stay on par. And so now we have caused, and are starting to cause, a nuclear arms race in the Middle East. Did you guys catch that? In the most precarious, dangerous part of the whole world, we, America, Russia, can't trust them. China, same thing. But America?